Namaste, namaste, my friend. Last time we have understood how the mind works and what causes the mind starts dictating us. What are those factors? And once we understand those factors, it's very easy then to take care of the mind, take over the mind, or guide the mind in the right direction. We also discussed 1 week before that the role of the mind and the intellect in desire and delusion. Let us have a simple practice in the beginning before we go deeper. Eyes are closed. Eyes are closed. Adjust and align your body the way you want to keep your body comfortable. This is I would say, the stage one. So when you are aware and keep yourself being comfortable and carefree throughout the day, it will help you to become aware of the mind and its activities. So when the eyes closed signifies that we are getting rid of the sense organs. Why? The sense organs cannot know the real self. They only see what is changing. But at the same time, this also helps the mind to look within. And we have been doing it in a simple way, looking at the neck joint, being there, feel the sensation, comfort and steadiness. Move the mind on the shoulder joints, being there, feel the sensation, comfort and steadiness. Move the mind on the entire body. You are just aware of the entire body. You feel the sensation, comfort and steadiness. Goal is to increase our awareness by changing the direction of the mind. A new level of awareness is there. Being carefree. If I close the eyes, I cannot guide you to practice. Yeah, a lot of masters do. It is their outlook. So being carefree, this is our stage one. Watch your thoughts like the traffic while standing across a road. Why I give the metaphor? Because through the metaphor we can simplify, we can understand how the mind is working. Traffic is different from you standing across the road, so you are different from the thoughts. That is why we say don't attach or identify with these thoughts. Traffic is there, you are here, so that you is an observer in you, and the thoughts are continuously moving like a traffic. They come, they stay, they leave. Let them come and go. That is why I say standing across a road, means separate from the traffic of the thoughts. So internally, it's a cognitive ability. We have a cognition that I see that these thoughts are different from me. You are carefree. Simple result is the detachment from the thoughts, a new level of awareness. So in being comfortable and carefree, these are the two steps to raise your level of awareness in any situation, in any condition in your life. You are in anxiety, be comfortable and be carefree, and then see what happens. And it is a passive step. Gradually and progressively, we can follow these two steps even with eyes open. It is important. In the stage 2, I always like to mention it has to do with the purification of the mind and also a natural focus. Why? Natural focus means that you are looking within and recognizing that there is only one you within. But as long as we see there are many thoughts and feelings within me, that is not within. But these thought pops up in the mind. So we have to do some active steps. So just looking inside the forehead in the space. You can also look inside the heart in the space and start breathing quick, short, and gentle breath into the rib cage. Continue. Gentle, quick, short, gentle breathing. You are a seeker, so I need not to have a disclaimer. You know it helps. It has helped you in the past. So continue doing the quick, short, gentle breathing. At the same time, you are dropping deep inside the forehead the mantra Om Shanti. That Om Shanti is dropped gently. Body remains steady, and you are breathing. So 3 layers. The mind is aware of the 3 layers. Body is steady, mind is dropping Om Shanti gently, and you are doing the quick and short breath, breathing through both the nostrils into the rib cage. Your rib cage expands and contracts. Just continue. You are an advanced seeker now, so it's not a big deal for you to do it even for 3 to 4 minutes. Let us see. And stop this breathing, do nothing, remain as you are, and look at the head and the neck. Means you are moving the mind on the skin of the head and the neck and experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind or look or feel the right arm from the shoulder to the fingertips and experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the left arm from the shoulder to the fingertips. Experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the rib cage, front and the back. We are educating the mind. This is the way to go beyond the senses and experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Become aware of the belly or look mentally the belly and the spine and the back. Sensation, relaxation, and stillness. And you have been doing the practice. So why I'm guiding you regularly, so that your mind is settled into that. When the mind is settled into that practice, we can move further. Move the mind on the right leg. Be there. Feel the sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the left leg. Be there, feel the sensation, relaxation, and stillness. The entire body, from the top of the head to the toes. You are aware, you feel, look, the entire body, from the top of the head to the toes. Experience the sensation, relaxation, and stillness. In that state, now the mind is living within. Look inside your heart and say mentally, Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. It means, may there be happiness for all. So we contemplate deeper inside that why we are doing this mantra in order to take the mind deeper within and rather to help the mind to move into a new level of awareness. What it means. May there be happiness for all. Happiness is our essential nature. What is essential nature is different from the superficial nature. What is superficial nature? The outer. How do you know that? Superficial nature always changes. My body, my mind, my intellect, my thought processes always change. What is behind that never changes is the essential nature, and happiness is our essential nature. Not my essential nature, but the essential nature of every being on this universe and the cosmos. So what is happening? The mind wants to recognize that bypassing all the differences of age, sex, gender, relations, color. So the mind should live into that awareness in order to awaken oneself. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Same thing. May there be peace for all. So we have to help the mind to acquire the ability to perceive beyond the senses. Peace cannot be seen by the sense organ. Do you see that? So peace is the essential nature. The rest are superficial nature. What are those superficial nature? Anxiety, anger, duality, conflict, ego, etc. Oh, it takes time. It doesn't happen on a single day. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. May there be completeness in all. Sense of completeness means what? Say your mind says, I am complete in myself in all respects. Will you like to move and react? No, I'm complete in myself. What is the fun of reacting? That sense of completeness is called holiness. That is, mind has to cognize that completeness in me, in you, in everyone. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. May there be grace and the blessing fall upon each and every being. Why? Because the existence is always there for us. How do you say that? I'm in stress. But the existence gives you, always offers you the breath to breathe, even when you are in sleep, even when you are in stress. Even when you are in stress? Is it not the grace and the blessing? We eat the food and the food is digested. We need not to worry about it. Is it not the grace and the blessing? Find out minimum 50 blessings like this that is always with us to help our mind to move within. Now in that state, just look at the breath that is going in and out. Feel the sensation of the breath. When the breath goes in, drop Om Shanti on the breath. Breath comes out, Om Shanti. So once you return to this last step of breath awareness with Om Shanti, when you're doing the practice, it is better to extend this Om Shanti step as far as maybe for half an hour more, and then see what happens. Now open your eyes. We are ready for the next topic. Yes, last week we understood that this mind is a receiving station. It is also the interpretation. Behind interpretation there are factors, and then it responds. The mind receives stimuli not only from outside but also from inside, in terms of the thoughts, feeling, and emotion. You look at me, you have certain feeling inside the heart. Sorry. Isn't it? So the mind receives the stimuli from outside, situation, people, relation, and it all from inside also. And it gives the interpretation based on the conditioning. And then it responds or reacts. Reacts instinctively, responds consciously. With awareness, we can respond consciously rather than react impulsively. Mind, our mind is the same. But the factors that is living inside the mind, buried inside the mind, they trigger, they interpret. That is what we understood. Mind's tendencies. It is the tendency of the mind to interpret stimuli and generate reaction. It is the tendency. Even including the animals and all the living beings, even including the ant. It explores how past experiences, innate biases, desires, and other factors shape the mind's conditioning and habitual pattern of reaction. How many times you have reacted to your son and daughter? Maybe 1,000 times. Let me become conscious and stop the reaction. What a big deal. No, but I forget it. That is why we are following this Eastern wisdom. That is why we follow the Eastern wisdom. Camera is little bit looking black. It's okay. So, how the mind works as a receiving, interpreting, and reacting or responding station. It's very important to know, to understand. It receives the stimuli, I told you, from the senses, interpret based on the past experiences and the biases. Now, before it has done the interpretation, there is a gap. Either I will react or respond. So the Eastern wisdom will help you all the time to respond. So if you have reacted 1,000 times to your son and daughter, now it will raise your, oh, what a fun, why should I react to these things? What happens? Mind remains in the state of the karma. And I have already given an answer how it happens. Mind has a two flow. Like the river has a two flow. One flow, you may say that it belongs to the higher wisdom, and the lower flow is known as the lower impulses. Eastern wisdom defines it as the flow of the prayers and the flow of the shreyas. We can choose which path to follow. Don't you know that the stress, anger, anxiety, duality, conflict, pain enters from the back door? We don't plan to have a pain and stress and anger and anxiety. So they enter in our life from the back door. So these are the lower impulses. That is the path of the prayers. We go into the mode of non-thinking. We follow life of conditioning, of habit, to keep on thinking unnecessarily when it is not required. But the higher wisdom, this path, peace and happiness is a matter of choice. I need not to choose my stress, anxiety, they will always come. But I have to choose peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Then only they will make their footprint in my life. So you see that the sense organ neutrally takes the stimuli from outside. For example, your friend has come or a person has come whom you dislike, but the senses are neutral there. So if I don't consciously think or I'm not aware, lower impulses of dislike will take over and it will cause unnecessary stress in my life. I told you just peace and happiness is a matter of choice. So when the mind gives the interpretation based on the past experiences, belief, motivation, emotional state, it attaches the meaning to guide the responses. Yes, all these responses the mind gives aims to fulfill our desire and needs. Driven by the craving and attachment, it will cause a problem. So if you choose the value-based responses, it will keep you happy. So that is why we introduced last week a principle of desire fulfillment and self-fulfillment. Desire fulfillment and self-fulfillment. So here it is also a desire for the real self or desire for the objects outside. When I desire anything from the world outside which is constantly changing, it changes its shape, color, quality, even in relationship. So our masters emphasize that as such there is no desire fulfillment. So when I desire for the real self, it is self-fulfillment. And that self-fulfillment is the journey that takes us to awakening. So we want that kind of a happiness by desire fulfillment, by desires for pleasure, for possessions, for status. But this provides our fleeting happiness. While living in the world, the mind sits inside and enjoys the peace within because it is not seeking a pleasure, possessions, and status from outside. You are still living in the world. Imagine that state. We are moving into that state. Real joy comes from living purposefully and actualizing one's real self. Satisfying desires outside temporary pleasures, it is dependent on the external circumstances. But the self-fulfillment is independent. It does not depend on anything outside. It is independent. You have a sunlight. You put all the articles into the room. The sunlight lightens every article. Your room is empty, sunlight is still there. Nothing happens to the sunlight. You change the color of the room, the sunlight still shines in the same way. Same thing with the real self. Desires are ultimately unstable and conditioned by the external factors. So if we depend our contentment on these objects, and we have to repeat our desire, we have to come in contact with the same object again and again, and that causes the attachment, and then the suffering begins. That is why we say desire fulfillment. As such, there is no desire fulfillment. It brings the momentary happiness as long as we are in contact with that person, that relations, that object. Happiness continues. That is temporary pleasure. And once the contact is done, happiness is gone. So our masters guide us. We have to redirect our thought, words and action towards the self-discovery. Living in alignment with our highest value, mind has two paths, two flow, shreyas and prayas. I just explained to you. Let go of the desire-driven pursuit. Be present. Unfold. We should unfold our authentic self inside. And the moment you are on a journey, it reduces your anxiety, conflict, delusion. And gradually we understand that if even just treading the path reduces the anxiety, conflict and delusion, what will happen if I recognize that real self? So we are dropping and dissolving the psychological dependency on the external object, people, things and relationship. Right. So that we are not caught up in the temporary pleasures, attachment and anger. We continue to live in peace and happiness all the time. So the deeper and clear understanding we have of what exactly is the desire, why there is a desire, how there is a desire, when there is a desire. And that understanding lives in the mind. Continue to live in the world, First, any desire is a thought. Without thought, you cannot have any desire. Second thing, a desire is a thought in the mind seeking something other than me. I'm tired, let me have a cup of tea. I'm seeking something other than me. Coffee is other than me, or tea is other than me. But why I am seeking? Because I am lacking something. For example, I am exhausted, let me have it. So I want to get rid of my exhaustion to take a cup of tea. What is one thing more important here is the I thought. Now, if I take coffee, I will be happy. If I take coffee, I'll be fresh. I thought become fresh. Nothing become fresh. I thought, which is agitating the mind to take a coffee. We are going deeper. Desire constantly arise in our mind. They always pops up in mind, changing based on, they change based on our mood, our habit, our impression. And it's a common sense approach that we become happy when desires are fulfilled and unhappy when they are not. But we are not aware if the desire is right or wrong. Are you getting it? We become happy even if our desire, or if the desire is fulfilled, or unhappy if it is not. But we are not aware if the desire is right or wrong. We don't examine it. Why we don't examine it? Because mind is obsessed with the lower impulses, attachment, instinct. We simply want it to be fulfilled. Why don't you listen to me? Why if you don't listen to me, I'm unhappy. But I have to see whether you are ready to listen to me. In this way, desire dictates our life. That is why mostly these desire dictate our lives. Desire are wants and cravings. Now, these desires are wants and cravings that arise in our mind for objects, for past experiences, for people, for relations. Are you getting it? We got it. First point. Now let us go to the second point. These desire changes according to our age, profession, and our relations. Especially just think, uh, desires keep changing in different stages of the life. A kid in our house will always crave for the toys. We don't crave for the toys, but we craved for the toys in the past. So you see, desires at a particular stage keeps on changing. If you don't give an idea of the toys to the kids, to the toddlers, they will never desire the toys. They should know the object or a thing to desire. Yeah, that happens even at the early stages. Say, for example, the sweet candy. They have tasted it, they will demand it. So they know what it means by the candy. So what it means, any desire cannot exist without the knowledge of an object. The mind perceives an object, develops knowledge about it, likes or dislikes it, and then thinks constantly, or instinct. This leads to the desire. More thoughts means more desires. That's why we say control your mind from wandering. Mind is wandering. How it is wandering? Because of the thoughts. And every thought contains one object. And that object we may have a craving for that object. We are going deeper. We are understanding desire. Origin of the desire. That is a pretty, not complex, but very deep concept. All desires originate from ignorance, our false notion, mistaken identity, that a cup of coffee will make me fresh. So very good. So anytime you have an anxiety, take a cup of coffee and see whether the anxiety is gone or not. It will never go. So it is an idea, it is a false assumption. The mind seeks outward pleasures to fill it. Ignorance of my true nature. I don't know that I am peace and happiness. That is why the mind starts running outside for an object. I am 24/7 fresh in peace and happiness. That's I don't know. So I want to be fresh. I don't feel the fresh. I'm not feeling the fresh inside, so let me have a cup of tea and coffee. That is what the false notion, and that is what we say is the ignorance. Answer the question, how desire impact our life. That makes me crazy all the time. No, I don't have those desires. Without desire, you cannot have an anxiety, duality, conflict. Really? Your mind may say, I don't believe it. But just think. Contemplate and reflect. These are the statements of the masters who have worked for 10,000 years. We have to allow the thought process to understand this. Desires dictate our lives, bringing either fleeting happiness when fulfilled or suffering when unfulfilled. Is that clear? And then we have millions of impressions of likes and dislikes. Our happiness, desires fulfilled, desires not fulfilled. So the mind is constantly swinging between the pleasure and pain, profit and the loss, victory and the defeat, based on the objects, people, relations outside. It has nothing to do with my peace and happiness inside. But still I'm happy and unhappy. That is how the desire impacts our lives. It dictates. How do the mind and intellect interact in desire? The mind generates desire for sense objects, while the intellect wants to understand. But if the mind does not want to understand, it dictates over the intellect, and then we are crazy, living into anxiety, duality, and a conflict. If the mind dictates over the intellect surrenders and starts seeking happiness outside, causing the delusion, and that intellect always has a strong likes and dislikes with the thing. So when anyone has a strong likes and dislikes of a person, of a relation, of a thing, it is the mind dictating over the intellect. We may rationalize what I have to do if one person is very good and one person is very bad. What leads the mind to override the intellect? Now we have to understand. I just told you that if the mind dictates over the intellect with the strong likes and dislikes, the intellect starts singing the tune of the mind with the instinct. Now that intellect follows the instinct and impulses. So we are answering the question. What question we are answering? What leads the mind to override the intellect? You want to know? my emotions, my habit, my past impressions, my biases, my false assumptions. So what happens? That leads to suffering. How? I'm into anxiety, craziness, laziness, etc., etc., etc. So those factors. That is why I repeated for a few minutes interpretation. Behind that interpretation there are factors. But what causes the desire to arise? Desire arises from the thoughts. I told you. Thought contains an object. Thought cannot be present without an object. And then there is an I thought. What is the goal of the Eastern wisdom? To transform the mind, to move the mind inside, to really settle in the highest state of meditation. So what is going to happen? We awaken to the reality that peace and happiness are inside me. They are my essential nature. And then you, with that understanding and clarity and a conviction, you are living in the world, you will never be trapped for desired fulfillment outside. Without the desire, so I have to desire the real self in my mind. The way I desire for a cup of tea, I desire real self. Why? Because the more I desire for the real self, I desire the real self, then what? Do I need to move from here now? No. No. So I desire real self. And where is the real self? It is inside me. So my mind starts moving inside. I was just talking of the life in the stages. A child desires a candy, a young adult desires a smartphone, an elderly person desires rest and the home activities. So we all desire, but our desires are different at different stages. Our desires change as we progress through these stages. What makes me happy as a toddler cannot make me happy as an adult, cannot make me happy as an old. Old desires may persist into the old age also and causes stress by not matching the states. Now, I am 80 years old and I have a desire for the candy. They do not match. Why they do not match? I am already suffering from diabetes, for example, at the age of 80. They do not match, and now there is a moment of distress. That is what the past impressions are. Desire changes across over different life stages, or desire can persist and cause suffering. Do desires change across? Yes, desires changes across the life stages. Childhood, now understand the Eastern wisdom. So Eastern wisdom says that childhood is a learning stage. And if we start learning at early stages, peace is within you, happiness is within you, these simple principles, the life is going to be beautiful. You see that our Eastern wisdom classifies the entire life cycle of a human being into 4 stages: childhood, youth, midlife, and old age. So early life, maybe up from 18 to 20 years, our life should be dedicated to learning, education, not only about the world outside, to adopt a profession, but about the self, which was not possible, which was not made possible in my life. What should I do? I can learn now. And the adult life is all about building a family, livelihood, earning money, position, wealth, etc. And the midlife has to be a life of constant reflection and contribution, and that will result into the self-discovery. We will reach to the higher state. So in childhood, normally, basic desires for security, food, play dominate. In youth, desire for career, family, and status arise. In midlife, desires shift to purpose and legacy. In old age, desire for self-knowledge and freedom grows if we are evolving naturally, otherwise it doesn't happen. And that is why we are learning the Eastern wisdom. Now is the right time. Desire shift to purpose and legacy? No. Leave about the legacy. It is the life of contemplation and reflection. You need not to worry about your family, son, and the kids, and when we are in the midlife stage. It is more on contemplation, more on reflection to know the purpose of my life, so that it will help me to reach to the highest state of awakening. And we can easily understand. It's not a big deal. In youth, desire energies that were latent during the childhood become strong. Social conditionings is very strong to achieve the worldly success, bring happiness. So desire arise for career, wealth, power, and status. But if it continues throughout the life, then it is going to cause the problem. And normally it continues even at the age of 90. I heard that 90-year-old guy married. Thanks to him. Congratulations. Now what is the problem? There is no problem. But my age factor. As the limitations of achievements become clear in the old age, desires has to turn inward for a true happiness. It has been enough is enough. Our mind must say, enough is enough. Time is passing. Creates the desire for self-knowledge before the death. These four stages we have given a different name. Childhood learning until 18 to 20 years of age, or after 20 or 25 until 40 or 50. Normally, if our life expectancy is 80 years, so we divide into four compartments. 20 years of age, we should learn. Not only the principles of self-discovery, but also learn some skill sets in order to earn and make our livelihood. And the second stage, we use that skill set to have that livelihood. At the same time, we should continue the journey of meditation, which we have not done. And that is why we find a tremendous pressure, and sometimes our mind changes. It's a part of the life. It will not change. I know it is happening. In the third stage of the life, all the kids are now, they are living on their life. So let me live my own life with a purpose, with a contemplation, with a reflection, with this Eastern wisdom. That's what we are doing. It will take us to the highest level of So in contemplation and reflection stages, is a deep contemplation and reflection. So whenever you listen to this talk and do the practice, close your eyes and contemplate and reflect what exactly is told by all these masters. What to do with this? How to help myself to grow into a new level of awareness, even living with everyone in the world. I don't get upset. I don't react. We have reacted millions of times. We have been into anxiety millions of times. Now is the time not to go into that level of anxiety and the stress. So, based on our age and the stages in the life, it is important to so that is a brief understanding of all about our desires. We started the journey understanding how the mind is a receiving interpretation with the factors and the responding station. So when I'm consciously thinking and understanding the mind, so I know there are two paths. The mind has a two flow. So the sense organs are the same, the thoughts are the same, the past impressions are the same, but the mind has a two flow. So with these impressions, mind can flow to the path of the wisdom, Shreyas, or mind can flow to the path of the Prayas. Another part that we have understood should be very clear to you. We never dream and think and desire for the stress, anxiety, reaction. They enter into our life from the back door. But peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom are a matter of choice. I have to make a choice. When? 24/7, until we discover the peace and happiness. So the moment you choose, your intellect becomes active and it starts dropping, dissolving the diktat of the mind over the intellect, and the life starts moving forward. Let there be peace for everyone. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.